Hey guys, Spence C. It is January the 19th. This is 21 videos straight and showing up daily to share my experience with you guys, musicians, music-based businesses. And today's video is 5 mistakes live performers make and how to avoid them, more importantly. So the reason why I'm doing this video is because I see, when I go out and see music and I see live musicians, I see this a lot happen. I see some of these mistakes happening quite a lot. And I've made them myself. I've made them lots of times. Lots of times I've forgotten words. Lots of times I haven't gone on fully prepared, or I've got a bit of stage fright and I'm sort of mumbling on stage, not really owning the stage. Lots of different things I've made, lots of mistakes, and you just learn as you go. And that's the only way you can do it, really, isn't it? Learning as you go. And so these are some of the 5 that I see most often. But before that, if you've been showing up to these videos daily like I have, you'll know that I've been drinking water daily as well. It's very important to stay hydrated, especially if you're like me. If you're over 50, you've got to really take care of your health, haven't you? So this is my time to make sure I get at least a litre of water in. I usually get more in. I've had 2 litres today already, so I'm well over my limit, if you like. I don't think there's an upper limit, really, is there? Anyway, without further ado, if you want to press pause, go and get a drink, come back, drink with me. Here we go. Or, of course, you can just skip this bit and get to the meaty bits. Wow, super hydrated today. So yeah, this is the 5 mistakes that I see live performers making and how to avoid them. So the first one is pretty obvious. It's poor sound. Now, if you are a solo artist, and let's say you're doing cover gigs, a lot of the time you won't have a sound engineer. You're expected to show up, you're expected to know how to work a sound desk, to set it up and to do your own sound. Now, sometimes that's easier said than done. A lot of the times, the gigs I've been playing in Norway, I have to say a lot of the sound is great. A lot of the sound is well furnished. There's plenty of, they usually have spare things, they have leads. They usually can work it out yourself. It's pretty easy to sort out. But I have been in places where you have to literally set the PA up yourself. All the equipment's pretty old and doesn't work very well. The monitors don't work. And in that situation, then you're in an uphill battle. But the key to this, really, there's several things that go on here. The key to avoid getting poor sound is, one, if you are a solo artist and you're going by yourself, there's several things you can do. Obviously, you get there very early, so if anything happens, you've got plenty of time to work it out, and that's the thing that I normally do. 2, you bring someone along with you who's a sound engineer and you can do the sound for you. Maybe you pay them a bit of money to do the perfect sound for you. Now, if you can do that more often, then that is the best option, because a poor sound can really ruin a performance. It doesn't matter how good you are on stage. If it doesn't sound very good, then it's really going to affect the audience's enjoyment of it, and it's going to affect your confidence, and you probably won't get asked back. So there are your 2 options there. Do it yourself, but make sure you've got plenty of time to iron out any wrinkles and to get a good sound. And if you are doing it yourself, then if there's bar staff there, maybe you could ask them and say, how does this sound? And be specific, are the vocals too high or too low? Is the guitar too bright or whatever? And do it that way. Make sure you always get the monitors done first so you can hear what's going on, and then do the front of house sound. That's the way I do it. Other people do it in a different way. But poor sound can just completely ruin your performance. So that is the number 1, I think, thing to get right. And like I say, if you have got some money, some extra money in the budget, or you've got a friend who's willing to do it for free, who's a great sound, or even just an okay sound engineer, someone just to sort of help you get good sound, then that is the best option. So number two, I see this quite a bit with new acts and stuff. They're so enamored with themselves, and they're so enamored with their band and the bandmates that they forget that they're actually playing to an audience. Now, I see this happen quite a lot, and a lot of the time it can be very self-conscious, and they're all kind of everyone's looking at each other and sharing kind of in jokes and things like that. And people are playing for themselves. They're kind of lost in their own world. And while that kind of works in some way, you have to get to that point. You need to engage the audience first. This is my opinion, of course. So the ways you can solve that, instead of ignoring the audience, obviously make it a big point when you go on stage to first of all announce yourself, who you are, and um, launch into your song. If you want to go straight into it, do that. But make sure you're playing to the audience, even if it's two or three people in the audience. Maybe it's a slow night. Make sure you're playing to those people and not just playing to yourself. Number three, and this is again, all these are kind of linked. They're all kind of they're all tied together, I guess. And this one can be just as bad as having a bad sound, is having songs in your set that all sound kind of the same and look the same. And I'll explain that in a minute. But more often than not, I'll see a lot of bands that are playing newish kind of bands, or they're starting out, or even more established bands. Their songs all sound the same. And so it's important when you're doing a show, putting a show together, that is what you're doing. You're not just doing you're not just turning up to the gig and then 5 minutes before you go on stage going, oh, so which songs are we doing then? It's not a rehearsal. This is an actual show, right? So it should have a beginning, middle, and end. You should have thought about it beforehand. You should have set the set. You know exactly how long your set is, and you know that each song flows to the next, and you have dynamics in the set. So you might have slow, moody songs, and you have more faster up tempo songs, and you might have just an acoustic track and all that. So you have different moments within the set, and you start strong and finish strong. And so I see that time and again with bands who you can just tell that they've just they're looking at each other in between songs. Which one are we playing next? Or the drummer might start one song and then realise that everyone else has got a different set list. It's just chaos. So make sure before you go on stage that you, even if you're playing by yourself, obviously, that you have a show in mind. It might not be perfect. It might not be the finished article, but you're thinking in terms of a show and creating moments rather than just making up songs as you go along, making up the set list as you go along. And the other thing that's number four, and again, these are all kind of linked for me, they're all connected, is talking too much or not talking enough. It's a very fine line, and it really depends on the kind of genre of music that you're playing as to whether you talk at all. But let's just say let's just keep it you just got a rock band, right? I was going to say the average white band or something. They're funk. But let's just say you're kind of a rock band. Let's take it for that. You're playing kind of guitar, bass, and drums, that kind of setup. So it's important to engage, and this is kind of sort of 4 and 5 are very connected. So talking too much usually is not talking in the way that you've rehearsed. We talked about earlier about rehearsing a show. So you're just blabbering in between songs because you don't know what to say. You're kind of padding, and you're kind of tuning up, and you're just faffing about in between songs, and you just talking over the gap just to say something, so there's no dead air, right? And you can tell when it's unrehearsed and when it's not going anywhere, and the person hasn't got an idea of what he's saying. He's just filling, and it usually ends up with, like, if you're in a band, it ends up with like in jokes where everyone, again, referring back to number 2, you're kind of ignoring the audience. You're just kind of talking amongst yourselves, and then you suddenly decide to launch into the song, and then it's off. So that's talking too much. Talking too little is just literally blasting through a set with no interaction in between at all, no talking, no announcing, no talking to the audience. And so somewhere in between there. And like I say, depending on the kind of style of music, you'll find out what kind of works for you. Now, if you're doing like um, electronic music and stuff like that, then maybe there isn't any talking in between it because it's more like a dance set, and you wouldn't necessarily, maybe the songs bleed into one another more like a kind of a DJ set. So that's kind of different. But if you're doing like an acoustic set, especially if it's just you and a guitar, you really need to be to have some stories, and I'll come on to that in a minute. Or if you're any kind of guitar-based band, any talking is normal. Um, Obviously, for an instrumental act, you could do that as well. So, but you'll know, you will know. And if you're filming your gigs regularly, if you're filming and watching it back, you will see um, where you should be talking and where you shouldn't be. You'll just know that there's a gap here, and why isn't anyone talking in that bit, or why are we talking too much in that bit? So it's a fine line, and again, this is an organic thing that grows and changes with you as you change. And number 5 is kind of an add-on to this, really. It is so it's kind of no interaction again. So what I mean by that is more like, imagine Queen, right? Everyone remembers that iconic Live Aid performance where they came on and absolutely dominated the stage, absolutely had the whole Wembley in the palm of the hand, or Freddie Mercury did. And so that was a lot of engagement, well, all that kind of stuff, call and response kind of stuff, gets the audience involved. And this kind of links into number 2 as well. So you're engaging with the audience, you're doing sort of getting the audience to clap along, maybe you're getting the audience to stamp their feet, you're getting the audience, split the audience down the middle and get one doing a high note, one doing a low note. I've seen, Ben Folds springs to mind. I've seen him do that, absolutely orchestrate an audience. I think what's his name? Jacob Collier, is it? Or Joshua Collier? Jacob Collier is a master at that as well, like splitting the audience into segments and getting them all to sing different harmonies and stuff, and like being like a conductor and orchestrating the audience. I mean, that's another level, that's other level confidence and showmanship and mastery. But that kind of thing really works, and that's the kind of thing that makes people think, wow, I've had an amazing transformative experience here. This isn't a gig, this is a show, this is an experience, right? So that's what you should be aiming for. Definitely get some sing-along songs, maybe interacting with people, like kind of like a stand-up comedian does when you're interacting with people in between songs, you're talking to people. I do this occasionally if I'm playing like a covers set and it's a bit slow. Maybe I see a couple who are a bit kind of getting cozy and loved up. I'll call them out and say, hey, look, where are you guys from and all this, and how long have you been together? Oh, you look very nice. What a beautiful couple. I'm gonna this song's for you, and then sort of sing a romantic song. And oftentimes, even if it's not the favourite song, the woman will go, oh, be all over the guy and be all emotional, and the guy's going to be like, wow, thank you, mate, you've just made my night. Just things, little things like that you pick up along the way. You could sing a song for the bartender, like this one, go dedicate songs to people. This one goes out to the bartender, he pours the best pint of Guinness in Dublin or Oslo or wherever you're at. Just little things like that, calling people's names, remembering people's names, maybe dedicate a song with the security guards or people who get overlooked and never really sort of celebrated in venues. And definitely, include the sound engineer. Even if it's just sort of round of applause to the sound engineer, round of applause to the live staff, something like that. You're engaging, you're breaking the fourth wall, if you like. You're kind of engaging with people, bringing people in. And the more you kind of name people and bring people in, the more people will be, oh, is he going to include me? And so people become more attentive. It makes people more attentive to what you're doing. Even you can play around with it if people are on the phones too much, calling people out or getting people to film you and then send you the videos. That's something I do because people are always on the phones, right? You can't stop that. So why not encourage it and say, okay, if you're going to be on your phones, then I really want everyone's to film this one. Or if you see it on stadium gigs like Coldplay and people like that do it. If you're playing a big stadium at night, get people to turn their torches on and wave it around to a song. That kind of thing just makes an event. It makes the gig an event and not just you turning up, going through the motions, playing like you playing at a rehearsal, playing to yourself, not engaging with anybody, just trying to get over it, get through it. You know, all that kind of stuff isn't gonna get you anywhere. You know, you may as well not bother if that's your attitude, because people certainly aren't going to want to come back and see you. And that should be the attitude that you're trying to go into every live performance that you're trying, no matter how many people in the audience, even if there's just two people, you're trying to win fans over. You're trying to get people to go, wow, I want to see these guys again. I didn't know they were playing, but I want to know all about them, you know. And also the interaction, making sure that you're telling people your name, because you don't assume that everyone knows who you are, because they don't. So introducing yourself at the beginning, saying it through the middle, and then finishing off, you know, good night, thank you, everyone, you know, we're so-and-so, we're the Cure, or we're Key West. I'm just thinking of names off the top of my head. I'm Spence C. Thank you very much for coming. Blah, 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 blah. Have a good night. Take care. All that kind of stuff. Have stuff on the stage. Maybe it's on the backdrop, it's on the drum riser, on the drum bass drum skin, or something like that. Your name clearly there, so people can remember who you are. So there's just 5. I mean, I could go on, but these are kind of 5 that I see a lot happening. And if you're into this, if you're interested, drop me a comment down below. Let me know what's your worst experience of a gig. I really want to know that. What's your kind of worst band that you've seen, or maybe the worst mistake you've made on stage? I want to hear it. I've got a few myself, and maybe I'll share one of those in another video, because we're kind of getting. I'll try and keep these to 10 minutes, but this one's going on a lot longer than that. So with that said, thank you very much for watching. Showing up here daily, so please like the video if you enjoyed it. Share it with people who you think would also enjoy it. And as I said, drop your comments down below. Let me know what's the worst mistake you've made on stage, or what's the worst mistake you've seen on stage. And please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow this as big as it will go. I've started it from virtually nothing. And I said, this is number 21 daily video. So at the moment, I think it started off at 4 subscribers, and now we're at 12. So there you go. We're growing very slowly, but every subscriber counts. And thank you if you have subscribed. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you again tomorrow. Take care.